Week 3 of college football. Let's get it rocking and rolling. Welcome into Got It Covered. I'm Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani, and we welcome Carter Hill to the show once again. Virginia Tech sports media and analytics alum. He covers Virginia Tech for Tech Sideline, and he's one of our best friends. So, of course, always got to have Clark on the program. Guys, let's get right into it and start talking about some college football here. And we start with the marquee game. College game day is going to Knoxville. Huge contest between Georgia and Tennessee. And there's so much to prove on the line, right? Georgia ranks 6th in the country, Tennessee at 15. But the opportunity is on the table for Tennessee to assert themselves as serious college football playoff contenders if they can knock off Georgia. They don't knock off Georgia very often. Can they get it done, fellas?
I lean no. And the reason I say that is this is a rivalry that's just, like you said, it's been dominated by Georgia. I don't think that Georgia has looked like world beaters by any means. I mean, they've played Marshall in week 1 and then like Austin Peay last week, an FCS team last week. So this is the first real test for Georgia, and it's on the road in a place that's going to be electric. I don't know if this is the checkered game for Neyland Stadium. I imagine it is. So it's going to be nuts in Knoxville for sure, and a raucous environment and the whole 9 yards. But it is still Georgia at the end of the day, and I have a lot of faith in their defense. I think Stockton has had a pretty good year thus far. Zachariah Branch has brought the level of dynamicism to their offense that I expected him to. I think if Tennessee is to win this game, they're going to have to put up points. Like, I think usually you think this is a defensive showdown, but really for me, this one comes down to Tennessee's offense. Is this the game that Joey Aguilar kind of drops his huggies a little bit? We're going to find out, but I'm not going to bet against Georgia in a spot like this until I see them lose.
Yeah, I like Georgia. I mean, just kind of everything that he just said too. Kirby Smart knows how to win those big games. And I get like Neyland Stadium is an awesome atmosphere. And I do like Joey Aguilar. Do I think he's going to be good enough to carry Tennessee through the gauntlet of the SEC? That still remains to be seen. I know you guys had some doubts on him going into the year, and then you see how he performed against Syracuse, and you're like, okay. I can see it. But I don't know. Georgia, to your point, they don't lose those games. And until they do, I have a tough time picking against them. So I do think Georgia's going to win that game.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on Tennessee's defense. We saw them allow 24 points against Syracuse, and Syracuse left some points on the table as well, right? Because they're forced late game scenario to go for 2 a handful of times. And really you could equate it to be more because they went for it on a 4th down inside the 10-yard line as well, where in a different stage in the game or a closer game, you're going to kick a field goal there. So points were even left on the table in week 1 by Syracuse against Tennessee. I don't feel completely confident in their defense, but I'll tell you this, 3.5, I'm a little skeptical on the hook there. You know, it's got me a little bit. I'm going to go Georgia to cover. But again, anything can happen in Neyland. Place would go bonkers if they could pull it off, especially because of how starved they are to take down Georgia, how lopsided that matchup has been. I don't know if it would be as crazy as when they beat Alabama because that felt like it was in a whole different tier, but we'd certainly have our eyes open for Tennessee if they were able to get it done. Give me Georgia to cover the 3.5, but I don't feel terrific about it. Something I do feel pretty good about, though, is this matchup. Wisconsin at number 19, Alabama. The spread is 21.5. This huge gaping spread. And I think Alabama is going to cover it.
Really?
And I know that sounds insane. One, I'm not super high on Wisconsin. I think Alabama is going to cover it because this is a situation, we've talked about it with some of the coaches in college football right now, and we didn't place him in the hot seat conversation, but this is a back against the wall moment for Kalen DeBoer with how this season outlook is. It's not that there's a fear to lose this game. I think Alabama is comfortably going to win this game regardless of what happens, but it almost feels like a situation where they're going to want to reassert themselves after the debacle against Florida State. They're not going to hold the thing back. Home game, Bryant-Denny Stadium, power conference opponent out of the Big Ten. Again, SEC Big Ten. We know what that means. Alabama's going to throw everything they can at this game. Give me them to cover the 21.5. And people start to look at Alabama and be like, okay, All right. But what is the status of Ryan Williams? What's the latest update on that, Raza?
There's injuries on both sides here, right? Because Ryan Williams still lingering from the hit that he took against Florida State in week 1. And then Wisconsin is probably, again, going to be without their quarterback, right? Billy Edwards in this game. So both teams a little shorthanded on offense. I know Edwards is likely out. I'm not sure about Ryan Williams, maybe trending towards a game time decision there. I think that Alabama wins the game probably comfortably. 21.5 is a big number to swallow, and
Huge,
I hate the hook.
Huge.
I hate the hook. But I think Alabama wins pretty comfortably. This seems like kind of a sleepy game for both sides. I kind of like the under. The total in this game is 46.5. I could see like a 21-10 win for Alabama in this game. Lower scoring. Defense is obviously ahead of the offenses. I mean, Wisconsin struggled to score against Miami of Ohio. So they're not going to score much in this game against Alabama. I would probably take the under there. But yeah, I do think Bama wins comfortably. 3 touchdowns seems like a lot for Bama in their current state right now. Because they couldn't even score 3 touchdowns against Florida State.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say 21's a big spread, but I do think Alabama's going to win that game. It's funny you mentioned that. I would have thought Kalen DeBoer still in that top 3 to 4 echelon of coaches on the hot seat, but I do think he's still got a solid team on his hands. I think Ty Simpson still has a shot to actually have an okay year. Maybe that's a hot take to have, but I actually think he still has a chance to have a pretty good year. And I don't like Wisconsin at all. Like they scored 3 points against Miami of Ohio in the first half a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going into Tuscaloosa and winning that game. I do think Alabama's still in for a pretty good season. So, yeah, I'll take the Crimson Tide. I still like Kalen DeBoer. I don't think he's going to work out there long term, but I still think he's a good coach.
Yeah, he's a hell of a dude. He wins everywhere he goes.
Exactly.
It's hard to do it at Bama.
Yeah.
That's why I think he bounces back.
Yeah. No, I like Bama in that game. I like Bama.
Big one in the ACC, and it's taking place down in Atlanta. Number 12 Clemson at Georgia Tech. Clemson is favored by 3.5 points. The Yellow Jackets are going to have Haynes King in this game. Remember, he did not play last week after going out of the game with an injury. Philo ends up playing the majority of the game for the Yellow Jackets, wins ACC Rookie of the Week. Should have Haynes King back for this one against Clemson. ACC fans have scheduled this one, and Clemson has not looked up to par. Trailed 16-3 against Troy at halftime on Saturday. Did not look strong at all offensively against LSU in the opener. Clemson's defense looked legit in week 1. What do we got here, guys? Can Georgia Tech really, really arrive? Or does Clemson go down to Atlanta and kind of, in a way, show that they're still here?
I'm interested to hear what Carter has to say about this.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Clemson's been very underwhelming. There's no doubt about that. They can obviously play some defense, but is Cade Klubnik really as good as people are making him out to be? I mean, you saw him against LSU. Granted, against a championship-level defense.
Yeah.
But then to go down 16-0 to Troy, you're like, what's going on down there? So, you go down to Georgia Tech, there will be a lot of Clemson fans there. Like there will be a lot of Clemson fans at that game. I like Georgia Tech quite a bit. I'm a big fan of Brent Key. I like Haynes King quite a bit, but like we talked about in our group chat all year long. What are the odds that Haynes King stays healthy through the end of the year? He already missed the game a week ago. He didn't play against Gardner-Webb, and maybe that was one of those things where it's like, do we really need to play him? They still scored 59 points. They have a really good backup quarterback in Aaron Philo. I'm going to lean Clemson, though. I think this is the week that Clemson goes down there and finds a way to win the game. I still trust Dabo in big spots. I know they lost the LSU game. LSU, with all due respect to Georgia Tech, is in a little bit of a different tier. And again, I like Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is a very good football team. I do think this is the week that the Clemson goes down there and makes a little bit of a statement. I think they win by a touchdown to 10 points maybe. I think they're going to get after Haynes King, and they're going to have to because they're going to run the football, near 20 times the whole game. So, yeah, I think Clemson's going to win this game, but I am very, very intrigued to watch this one.
So not super comparable, but this game reminds me of when Clemson went to Pitt last year. And obviously Pitt had that hot start to last year. And a lot of people were like, Clemson at that point had already lost 2 games. And people were worried about what is it going to look like? Pitt's got Eli Holstein, all these other things. And Clemson had to have this furious comeback to win the game at the end, right, when Klubnik ripped off that long run. So, again, not a great comp in terms of what I think is going to happen in the game, but a similar situation where I think that Clemson will get Georgia Tech's best shot for about 3 quarters. This could be a 20-20, 20-17, 17-17 game going into the fourth. And then I think Clemson superior talent, probably superior conditioning, just kind of makes them pull away at the end for, like Carter said, maybe a 7-point win, probably lower scoring, maybe like a 23-17 type thing. I don't know if this is the week that they figure it out necessarily, because let's be honest, a team that returned everybody from last year should not have to figure anything out.
Yeah.
But you're right, Carter, that they're so talented that it's going to click eventually. And this might not be the game where it happens, but it might be the fourth quarter where it happens. And Klubnik hits a deep shot and silences the crowd, or gets the Clemson crowd, at least that sideline rocking a little bit. So I like Clemson in this game. I would like Clemson to cover, but there's a reason why the spread is as thin as it is.
Yeah, I'm going Clemson as well, but I do it definitely with some apprehension. I'm going to go Clemson. I also think it's not a backs against the wall moment for Clemson necessarily, but it is essentially you have to prove something, right? And Dabo hears the noise, Klubnik hears the noise, the team hears the noise. You have an opportunity to go prove something, at least in the conference landscape. If you go on the road, take care of Georgia Tech. So I like Clemson. Probably by the spread, 3.5. I'll take them by a touchdown. Let's move on and talk about another big one for a member of the ACC. And this one got big kind of out of nowhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest piece of television programming that the CW will air since the series finale of the Gilmore Girls.
Hey, Arrow was pretty hot back in the day too. Let's respect Arrow a little bit.
For sure. Number 18, USF on the road at number 5, Miami. The Canes are favored by 17.5. Man, USF has been giant slaying lately. Took down Boise State, who was ranked in the preseason. We have our thoughts about that. But again, a playoff team from a year ago with a first-round bye last season. And then just beat Florida on the road in the swamp. They were ranked 13th in the country at the time. Went in there, just muddied up the entire game, come away with an 18-16 victory. Now Miami, ranked 5th in the country. We saw how good Miami looked against Notre Dame in week 1. We feel like we've had this return to form out of Carson Beck. This team looks legit. This team looks like it can seriously contend on the defensive side of the ball as well, but 17.5 feels gargantuan to me. Give me USF to cover, Miami to win the game, guys.
If this is the second week in a row that they are a 17.5-point dog facing a fellow Floridian university. So, I mean, if I had a nickel for every time USF knocked off a ranked team that wears blue and orange this year, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I think this is a bit of a taller task because Florida is a team that was ranked off potential. Miami is a team that's earned its ranking at number 5.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, like, preseason polls have to be taken with a grain of salt. There's no reason why Boise State should have been ranked. Florida, again, was ranked off potential, not showing what they did on the field, unless you think that beating Long Beach University is something to hang your hat on. So I can see this as a spot.
LIU. They beat LIU.
The Sharks. The Sharks.
So this might be a situation where people take USF to cover because it's like, oh, I think, that it's trendy and this is the way it's been. So this is the way it's going to continue. I think I would take Miami to win and cover this spread. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm impressed with what I've seen from South Florida, particularly their quarterback in Byron Brown. And he's going to have to be Superman if USF is to pull another upset. I think Miami's way too good on both sides of the ball. And for what it's worth, Miami looks like a championship caliber team in the trenches.
Yes.
And
that was the difference against Notre Dame.
Exactly. And against smaller teams, that can prove to be the difference. If you get pushed around a ton up front, because don't get me wrong, Florida has the athletes, but Miami's on a different level right now. They look like Penn State in the trenches. They pushed around Notre Dame in the trenches. So that for me is the advantage on top of obviously Carson Beck. I mean, Malachi Toney's been arguably the best freshman in college football this year. Through 2 young weeks. So I actually like Miami to win this game and win it comfortably. I give a ton of credit and props to USF, but I think this is the come down to earth week for them.
Yeah, I give a ton of credit to USF for the start to the season they've had. I think it was it Josh Pate the other day who said if you undressed USF with their logo and put Alabama's logo on them, they would be number one in the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. They have 2 ranked wins.
Yeah.
And granted, to your point, like Boise probably shouldn't have been ranked. They were ranked based on projection and then going to the college football playoff last year with the running back that is now in the NFL. So that's why Boise State was ranked. However, they've gotten off to a crazy good start and they deserve a whole lot of credit. And I think the biggest question with USF is where's Alex Golish coaching next year? Miami is one of those teams where, as you guys know, I have never been a believer in Miami. I have to see it to believe it. I watched that whole Miami Notre Dame game, or most of it when I got back to the hotel in Atlanta. Miami's good. Like Carson Beck, if he can continue to play at that level, Miami's going to have a chance, man. And with the 12-team playoff, Miami's going to have a chance. Do I think Miami's good enough to win the ACC? Absolutely. Do I think they will win the ACC? I don't know. But this is still a game at home. And as you guys know, Miami's fans show up when they're good. Like they show up when they're good.
Yes.
And you still have a top 20 team coming in town. I think people sense the momentum. I think Miami wins this game. I don't know if they cover the 17.5, or I don't know if USF or Miami rather covers the 17.5 point spread, but I do like Miami to win this game. And if they do, or actually if USF finds a way to win this game, I don't think we should rank them and we should move Miami up to the 3rd spot in the AP poll and then not get into our process as to how we rank them.
There you go. I like that.
Pew, 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 pew.
I mentioned it. I like Miami to win. It's the hook. I think Miami could win this game by 17 and they still don't cover the spread in doing so. So give me USF to end up covering this thing. Let's throw one in here that we weren't even going to talk about, but I'm sitting here. We're having this conversation. I need to fight for them after seeing what I saw last week. Vanderbilt goes on the road to play number 11 South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. It's a night game, 7:45 on the SEC network on Saturday night. 3.5 point favorites are the Gamecocks over the Commodores. Here's a number for you. Diego Pavia as a road dog over the last 3 years, that is, 9-2-1 against the spread. At New Mexico State in 2023, he was 4-2-1. At Vanderbilt last year, he was 4-0 as a road dog against the spread. And this year, he's 1-0 as a road dog against the spread after dropping 34 in the second half on Virginia Tech last week in Blacksburg. Give me Vanderbilt to go in and take down number 11 South Carolina and pull off the win. I watched these two teams play the exact same team. And Virginia Tech looked a lot better against South Carolina than it did against Vanderbilt. And one was in Blacksburg. The other was on a neutral site. Give me Vanderbilt. Give me Vandy.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. I think I'm going to lean South Carolina because it's in Columbia. However, I don't think South Carolina is a top 10 team. And I think Vanderbilt could be borderline a top 25 team. I think those
they
two
should have
teams
been ranked this week.
They probably should have been. I think those two teams are pretty close. And watching those two teams play in person, I can tell you for a fact, Vanderbilt's offensive line is much better than South Carolina's. Much better. And Vanderbilt's got a pretty good quarterback too. I also think Vanderbilt's defensive line might be better than South Carolina's. So I think Vanderbilt's going to give South Carolina some issues down in Columbia. But just since it is down there, I do think the Gamecocks will win the game. I don't know, man, though. I like Vanderbilt. I that's the thing, too. Like we talked about Virginia Tech. They did not look good last Saturday. I also think Vanderbilt's a pretty good football team. And the way Diego Pavia commands an offense is as good as it gets in the country. Not the biggest physically, but he's as good as it gets in terms of commanding an offense.
So I'll say this. I think this one comes down to whose quarterback puts on the cape at the end of the game. Because I think we all think it's going to be close. Who's going to make the play to win the game for their team? Is it going to be Pavia or is it going to be Sellers? In this spot, at home, prime time, raucous crowd, I'll take Lenoris. I think South Carolina wins the game at the death. Don't know about Vanderbilt to cover because, again, that number is really funky at 3.5. But, yeah, to Carter's point, at home, I'd lean South Carolina just because I think this is a game where Sellers steps up and makes a play.
Clark Lee's just a heck of a coach. I'm excited to watch that game. I'm excited.
But so is Shane Beamer. I think Shane Beamer's pretty good.
Shane Beamer's a good coach.
One thing real fast. I know he went there. He played there. He's coached there. He's not the head coach there. you think there's a chance that Clark Lee gets a big boy job after the season? He's a good
If they
coach.
finish above 500 again, yeah.
And when you
He
look
loves
at
Vanderbilt, though. He seems to have this vision to turn Vanderbilt into something.
I agree, but his vision making quarterbacks also out the door after this year. So if they go 7-5, 8-4, that's a little bit different at Vanderbilt compared to some other places. I could see Clark Lee getting a look at one of these humongous schools that might open up in the next 2 years.
We'll see. We'll see. 2 more games to get to quickly here. Florida on the road at number 3 LSU in Death Valley. The Tigers are 7.5-point favorites over the Gators. We just talked about the debacle in Gainesville last week for Florida. I mean, Billy Napier's seat could not be any warmer at this point. LSU trying to prove that they're national champ contenders. Can Florida relinquish it all and insert themselves back into the conversation? Can Napier essentially save his job if he's able to go win a road SEC game like this at this caliber this weekend? Who do you guys got with LSU as 7.5-point favorites on home soil?
Well, let me say, you would think the way LSU has started this season and the way things went last week for Florida, even though this is a rivalry game, that LSU should be bigger than touchdown favorites in this game. But there's a reason why they're not. There's a reason why it's 7.5. Just 7.5 for LSU Florida obviously kind of seems crazy. I don't know that it'll happen. I think there's a real shot Florida wins this football game.
Really?
This is a perfect opportunity to buy low on Florida. And I know Billy Napier's on the hot seat and all these other things, and this is the year for LSU. This is a game Brian Kelly loses, man. This is a game that Brian Kelly loses. And it's a rivalry game. The way they lost last week, is there a level of being fired up if you're a Gator versus maybe being complacent if you're an LSU Tiger? I don't know. I'm not going to pick Florida to win, but there's a better possibility than you might think.
Yeah, I think LSU at home will find a way to win, but I agree that Florida is in one of those situations where if they can go do something like this, and they've done it in years past.
Yes.
And we were talking about them as a top 15 team last week.
Yes,
literally.
Yes. And you just mentioned Florida's very, very talented. Very talented. And LSU has lost plenty of these games over the last 10 years. It's a reason why they probably haven't won more than one national title.
Right.
And Brian Kelly has lost these games at both LSU and Notre Dame multiple different times.
Yeah.
7.5.
Same old things.
Yes.
7.5.
I'm gonna say LSU backdoor covers and wins by 10, but I do think this will be a good game. And that is a hate. Like, if you're a Florida Gator fan, that is probably an uncomfortable place to go to a game. Walking around with your Florida Gator gear in that parking lot, how those guys party there. That is an uncomfortable place to go to a game as a fan. I'm sure.
I love college football.
Yeah, Death Valley, walking around that no joke down there. No joke.
No.
Yeah. Give me Florida to cover the 7.5 because of how much is on the line. But dude, LSU's defense is so improved this year. And I know it's only been 2 weeks, but I think LSU has really revolutionized on the defensive side of the football. If this was last year's LSU or the year before, like, even if you had Jaden Daniels running the helm at quarterback, there was no faith on the defensive side. Now you have faith on the defensive side of the football. And Lagway looked really poor last week against USF. Could not score points. Really had trouble moving the ball at times. That was a home game. I think that LSU's defense proves to be suffocating. I don't know that Florida's going to be able to score enough to even cover. I'll take them to cover because of how much is on the line, but LSU wins the game.
To play devil's advocate too, if LSU somehow wins this game by 20 to 30 points, it is going to get bad for Billy Napier very fast. Very fast.
And good for LSU. Like, LSU is going to be just going to continue this. You know what I'm saying? One more game to talk about here, gentlemen. Number 16, Texas A&M on the road to play number 8, Notre Dame in South Bend. 6.5-point favorites are Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish. Ooh, interesting one. It feels like in so many ways, A&M every year has these opportunities to say, here we are. And they just don't win this game, right? Like last year, it was Texas, chance to go to the SEC championship, or Notre Dame in the opener, and it was in Aggie land in College Station, right? It just feels like year after year, this game is on the table, sitting there for the taking for Texas A&M, and they just don't do it. But I do think they have the right guy at head coach, and he hasn't been there till last year, obviously, and in Mike Elko. So a lot to unpack there. Notre Dame has a lot on the line because I don't know if you can afford a loss here. You lost to Miami. You didn't play last week. Here you are. You'd be staring 0-2 in the face. You'd have to win out to even have a shot at the playoff. You're not in a conference, so you're not going to play for a conference championship. And the schedule the rest of the way is really nothing difficult. Their two hardest games of the season are their first two. I don't see a world where Notre Dame loses this because of that. I don't see Notre Dame starting 0-2 and staring 0-2 in the face. I just don't. We haven't seen a prove it moment out of Texas A&M, and we have not seen Notre Dame collapse like that under Marcus Freeman. I think they're too well coached. I think Notre Dame wins the game, and well, I think they cover too. I think they win by 7. It's 6.5.
To counter that, if I may,
please.
Marcus Freeman's first year they started 0-2. Right? They went on the road and lost to Ohio State and Columbus, and they came home and lost to Marshall. They did. Last year, they go on the road and beat A&M. Last year, they go on the road and beat A&M, but then they come home and lose to Northern Illinois. So, if anything, under Marcus Freeman, slow starts are kind of the name of the game, right?
Not a bad point.
And 2023, they started like they won in Ireland or whatever, but then like they had that stretch in the middle of the year, right? They lost to Ohio State, Louisville. I think they finished that year with 2 or 3 losses. Point being, it wouldn't shock me if Notre Dame lost this game. The thing is, I don't trust Texas A&M.
Not
as little as I trust Notre Dame. They've gained my trust in the way that they've played, especially at the end of last year. And they, pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and came back to almost take down Miami in that game down at Hard Rock Stadium. It doesn't feel like the Notre Dame teams of earlier in Freeman's tenure. And A&M, although Marcel Reed has been an absolute dog for them on offense, I don't like what I see out of their defense. And I think this is a game where CJ Carr gets his bearings set and the Irish go out and win this one. I would like Notre Dame to win. I would like Notre Dame to cover the 6.5. I think that's a favorable number for the Irish. So definitely a very fascinating spot. If you're Marcus Freeman, is this going to happen again? I don't know, but I don't think so. Not against A&M.
Yeah, that's the thing. For me, I think it's more about Texas A&M than Notre Dame. Like, when's the last time Texas A&M won one of these huge out-of-conference games? Like, when's the last time that's happened? And I I love Mike Elko. I love Mike Elko. I do think he's going to take A&M to. I mean, here's the thing with Texas A&M too. Like, we talk about all these programs in the ACC. Texas A&M is like the epitome of like everybody talks about A&M like they're in the top 5, top 10 every single season, but they've never really. I mean, they've had your year here and there, Johnny Manziel, where that's happened, but like they're always like knocking on the door of that at best. Last year was their opportunity. They were still, they were probably top 20 in the country, and they lose to Texas with a chance to get to the title game. And in today's day and age, they get to the SEC
College Station.
Yes. And in today's day and age, if you get to the SEC title game, if you win in Atlanta, guess what? Take a punch. You're going to college football playoff. So I think it's more about A&M. I like Mike Elko. Question for you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on CJ Carr? For both of y'all, what are your thoughts on CJ Carr?
I had mixed expectations going into this season and definitely going into that Miami game. And what I saw early was a guy who was rattled and maybe not ready for the moment. What I saw late was a guy who figured it out over the course of the game. And really, I can't point at him and say he's the reason why Notre Dame lost the game. I was pretty impressed with his playmaking ability, with his poise. Eerily similar to another game in football that a guy made his first start and his team the final score of the game was 27-24. It's very JJ McCarthy like what I saw from CJ Carr. The difference is McCarthy won and Carr lost, but he gained my trust in that game. So I'm a CJ Carr enthusiast.
One final point for me on this. Notre Dame's got an extra week to prepare for this game. They didn't
true
play
and
last
weird.
week. And it's weird that they didn't play last week. And on top of it, I almost wish there was a game to watch to be able to learn more about Notre Dame, but there's not. They're going to be able to throw everything at this. They've been getting ready for this game for 2 weeks. As soon as they got on that plane after Miami, they were getting ready for Texas A&M. That's unique. Texas A&M had to put everything together to beat Utah State last week in College Station. I just think Notre Dame covers here, the 6.5.
I agree.
This was fun, gentlemen. This was a good time.
Yes, it was.
Carter, we got to have you on anytime, man. The door is always open.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Keep doing your thing. Got it covered. It's so funny how like this all started like in the studio a couple years ago with the betting show. And now it's just a podcast with a bunch of guys that just enjoy chopping it up and talking some college football and the NFL. So it's cool to see it morph into what it's morphed into. So keep doing your thing.
Thank you, Carter. Appreciate it. Raza, enjoy your college football weekend, my man.
You as well, my friend.
Always. I'll, it's nice. Syracuse plays Friday, so I'll be working Friday, and then
that's right.
I'm watching. I'm prepping up on the couch all day Saturday and Sunday to soak it all in. So sometimes it's nice. Yeah, I'll have the Fran Brown dart beer going, probably for sure. All right, boys. Well, appreciate it. Be on the lookout as always. You can find Carter on Twitter at CBHill_03 on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. Follow him for everything you need Carter Hill wise. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram everywhere at Got It Covered FB. We're going to have NFL picks coming out. So much content. So just be on the lookout. For Raza, for Carter, I'm Giovanni saying so long, and we'll talk to you next time on Got It Covered.